Hello there. Live, how do I call you? I'm sorry. Can you hear me well, or is it is it okay? My audio? Can you guys hear me? Hello. Hi, Tatom. How are you? I think I can hear you, but I'm not sure if you're listening to me. Can you hear me? You guys can type as well. You can type here in the chat. Mirko, can you hear me? Okay, nice. Do you have Zoom in your computer, or you got in through the link that I sent? Okay, so you downloaded Zoom. Okay, yeah, that's what I was afraid. I'm not sure if people can get in without. Yeah, you okay? So you used my link and you downloaded Zoom. You didn't. You couldn't like log in through the website, right? The browser. Okay. Okay, let's wait a little bit. Let's see who else gets in. 3, 6, 7. Does anyone here got in through is watching this class through the browser, or everyone's using Zoom? Because I'm very interested in knowing if you can watch the class without downloading Zoom. Apparently no one. Okay, I think we can start now. Before we start, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what this project is, um, as well as a little bit about CardRoom Poker Team. So, for you guys that don't know me, my name is Luiz Lemos. I'm 30 years old and I'm a professional poker player. I started playing poker professionally in 2012. I've been studying poker since 2008, but I started playing professionally in 2012. And I'm one of the owners of CardRoom Poker Team. We are a team, we have about 250 horses nowadays. We are a Brazilian team, for you guys that don't know. And we wanted to start having like new players from all over the world. So that's why we're doing this and looking for new players that are interested in learning poker, learning how to beat the game, and how to make money with poker online mainly. Okay. This first class is a little bit tricky because I have no idea how much you guys know about poker, and how advanced it's your knowledge. If you guys know like basic stuff, if you guys already are learning game theory, GTO, or if you guys learn pot odds. There's so many things in poker that we can learn that it would be very important for me to understand how well do you guys know poker. And so that's why I brought a very basic class, a basic part of game theory here that is not complicated to understand, and maybe a couple of you guys already know about, but it's obviously important to understand before getting like into like more complicated things. Now, if I could get from you guys a couple of answers about how. Well, actually, let me do this. I had a couple of questions ready, so I'm gonna ask those questions and see if you guys. So where we are here. Okay. Nope. So first thing, I want you guys, if you want to use the chat, that's fine. You can use the chat. And if you want to say it out loud, it's fine as well. So how many of you guys know pod odds? Pod odds. Anyone here knows any? Okay, Mirko knows. Who else? Blade knows. Nice. Max Suit knows. Someone tried to say something I couldn't hear. Okay, so for now, 3 people know pod odds. Okay. All right. Wait a minute. Okay, 4. All right. Yeah, our class is going to be about that, pod odds and equity, expected value. I'm going to try to talk about as many things as possible. Of course, the pod odds is not something that sometimes you might know what it means, and you might know the mathematics behind it, but it's hard to sometimes it's hard to do that in game, right? To understand how to apply that in game. So we're gonna see what are pod odds, and then we're gonna see a couple examples of that. Okay. Now, but let me keep asking about other things. So, how many of you guys know about combos and blockers and how they work? Okay, let me see Jordy here. Jordy, let me see. Combos and blockers. Okay, so Vlade, Muskud, no one else? So we have 4 pod odds. Let me just write this down. 4 pod odds and 2 blockers, combos. Anyone else? No one else knows about blockers and combos? Okay, that's fine. What about MDF, minimal defense frequency? MDF and GTO, basically. Kind of the same, well, not the same thing, but they're related for sure. Okay. Okay, so that's enough. I think we already have enough. Okay, so we're gonna talk about basic stuff. We're gonna start with very basic stuff, and then we go, later on, if we keep having those classes and people are participating, then we can, go deeper in that. My squad said, read about it, but forgot the formula. Okay, that's fine, no problem. So let's talk about basics first, okay? So the class, the thing that we're going to see today is pod odds and outs, and a little bit about how to conciliate those things, to get those things together, link those things together. Like I said, it's a simple concept. It's not complicated, but it's important for sure. So that's why we need to do that. And of course, I'm going to try to talk about everything you guys have any doubts about. You can make, if you have any questions, you can make questions. If you want me to repeat things, If you don't understand, it's fine. You know, my English is not perfect and just like American for a while, but if you don't understand, you can always ask me to repeat things. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so you guys, I think you guys can see the slides, right? The pod odds NAV slide. Okay. All right, so here we go. So what are pod odds first? I think that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. So pod odds is basically the ratio between the size that you need to call and the size of the pod. Okay. So the whole mathematics behind pod odds is to find out what is the break even spot, right? So for instance, I'm going to give a very quick example. We're going to see a bunch of examples here, but to make a very simple example, if you're in a situation in poker that you have a pot that has 10 chips in it, and your opponent bets 5 chips. So now you bet 10, now you bet 5, that's 15, right? So you need to call 5 in a pot that has 15. So finding out how often you need to be winning this pot is what we call pot odds, right? Knowing the equity that you need, it's what mean pot odds. Knowing the break-even spot, so the expected value is expected value is 0. Okay, is basically finding out that. There are a couple of formulas that you can use for pot odds. It's not complicated. I brought 2 here, the most useful ones. So one is to sum the pot plus the calling size divided by the calling size. Okay, so that will give you a number. If you divide 100 by this number, you have the exact equity that you need, the percentage of the times that you need to be winning a hand. So you basically will have the answer for that. Okay, and the other way, it's the opposite. It's flipping those things. It's calling size divided by pod plus calling size. That will usually give a very easy answer for pod odds. Let me just ask you guys, everyone that is not muted, if you could please mute your phone. Jory, I think that's you. Your phone is okay. I think we're good now, right? You guys can hear me? Okay. Okay, nice. So those 2, let me go back to. So those 2 are the basic ways to do this calculation. Okay, the pot odds calculation. So pot plus calling size divided by calling size, and then you can divide 100 by that, or at least understand the ratio. And you can also do the opposite: calling size divided by pot plus calling size. Don't worry too much about those things. We're gonna see in a bit a couple of examples of that. Now, I wanted to show you guys an example of how pot odds work, and I would like you guys to participate on that. Okay, so right here we have a horse, one of our players from CardRoom. This is a spot where he's on the bottom. He raised 2x. Okay, so the blinds are 4,000, 8,000. He raised 2x, and the big blind shoved. He shoved about 18 big blinds or something. Yeah, about that. Now, the question I want to make you guys, it's a very basic question, but sometimes we get a lot of wrong answers for that. In general, in this specific spot, in general, if you guys had to guess, what is the worst pocket pair that you guys would call with in this scenario, where you raise 2x, the opponent shoves about 18 big blinds. What are the pocket pairs that you would call with? You guys can type. You guys can speak. Everything's fine. So pocket deuces, 3s, 4s, 5s, 7s, 6s. I want to see how far you guys are from defending the right pocket pairs. Sevens plus, okay. What else? Nines plus, all right. Jacks plus, okay, we're getting stronger ranges, I guess. Okay. Anyone else? Why don't you guess? Okay. All right, so we have a general idea. You guys have a pretty strong range for calling, right? Sevens plus, nines plus, jacks plus, okay. And if you guys want to keep giving like your ranges, it's fine as well. Now, we don't really need to wonder what is the worst pair that we should be calling with. We can actually do some math and have a pretty accurate, or at least have a pretty close understanding of what is the best, or at least what is the worst pocket pair we can call with. Okay, so first let's do the pot odds mathematics here. Okay, the calculation, the pot odds calculation. So we know the pot is 172. You know the calling size is 132. Okay, so let's do that. Let's see what is the equity that we need so we can call and break even in the long run, because that's what matters, right? If we can call and make money, that's what we're looking for in poker, right? It's making money. So this is what we should be doing, right? This is one of the ways we can do that. So pot plus calling size divided by calling size. So this is the math. This is 2.3. And 100 divided by 2.3 is 43. I just need to mute. Not sure who is it. Let me see. You guys, you can all mute actually. Let me mute you guys. Okay. It should be good now. Okay. So that's 43.47. What that means is that our hand needs to have 43% equity against the shoving range, right? So if the guy is shoving 18 big blinds, whatever we have, if you have a pocket pair, if you have live cards, doesn't really matter. What matters is that your hand needs to have 43% equity against your opponent's range. Okay. Now, oh, wait a minute. Okay. So just to see if we're right about that. So let's just make sure. So if we go 43% times what we're gonna win every time we win the pot, that's about 75,000 approximately. And if we lose 56% of the time, 132, which is how much we're going to lose if you call and lose the pot, that's minus 75,000. Meaning that if you have exactly 43% equity, you're going to be breaking even in the long run. So if you call with a hand that has more than that, then you're making money, right? And if you call with a hand that has less than that equity, then you're losing money. Okay. Now, let's look at the pocket pairs that we actually need to call against the opponent's range. So if we're playing against a 15% range, which is a pretty strong range nowadays, especially online, people are way more aggressive than that. But if we're playing against a 15% range, a very tight player, the bottom pair that we could call with is sixes plus. So those would have more equity than what we need. The way we know that is by using Equilab. Equilab is one of it's this right here. You can actually, and you can always memorize. It's pretty simple. If you practice a lot, it's very easy to do that. You just, select the ranges and then you can see the equities, okay? And so let's just see here. 15% would be something like this. Now, to be fair, nowadays, usually ranges have all pocket pairs in that situation. So the ranges would be wider, and they usually have the weaker ace suited, a little bit less of the broadways here. Okay, this is a tight range already. This is a very tight range. People shouldn't shove with like this. This range, they should have more things to shove with. But if we do that and go sixes against that, that's like a coin flip, right? That's a 50-50 spot. So if you need 43, we should be definitely calling with sixes. Let's see if we should call with fives. We should call with fives. We should call with fours probably. Yeah, and then pocket threes are probably a little bit minus EV. Yeah, it's a little bit bad. Okay, so against a 15% range, a tight range, this is a pretty easy call with fives plus. This is I'm saying sixes here because pocket sixes because if you go with the poker strategy, the Equilabs range, then it's a little bit less equity because it doesn't have all the pocket pairs. But we know that nowadays players will shove like every pocket pair there most of the time. Now, so if you're calling with jacks plus, nines plus, sevens plus, you're folding hands that are supposed to make money by calling that you should not be folding with, right? Especially if you're like jacks plus, then it will be like a huge problem, right? Because you're folding tens, nines, eights, sevens, all of those hands that are making money, they should be calling with. And if the range is a little bit wider, then you should be calling with any pocket pair, right? You should be calling with deuces, and that's most of the time the case. If you're playing against strong rags that are trying to exploit your like bottom range, because usually bottom ranges are very wide. They are going to shove like very light, and then you should be calling with any pocket pair in that scenario against very strong players, of course. So yeah, and if you, of course, against a 25% range, that's even more. And if you were playing only against pocket pairs, then you should be calling sevens plus, right? So even if the other guy was only shoving pocket pairs, which is pretty much impossible, it's just a curiosity, not important actually. So this is how pot odds can be important. Sometimes we know about the concept, but we don't really know in practice how to make that work, right? Now let's do some exercises here to see other things, other scenarios. Okay, this is another scenario that's very interesting. So we have this one of our players raising from the cutoff and getting 3-betted from Phoenix here on the small blind. So he 3-bets, I think 35 or something. I'm not sure the size that he was 3-betting, and Breno decided to 4-bet 70,000. Okay, so he made 10 big blinds. Now Phoenix shoves 260, and the interesting thing about this spot is that it shows a lot of flaws here, a lot of mistakes that were made because he didn't understand pot odds well enough. So let me ask you guys this: in this spot, are you calling with this seven? Are you calling with sevens after Phoenix shoves, or are you folding most of the time? And don't worry, that it's fine to not get it right. That's absolutely fine. It's just to know how well you guys know about pot odds and how well we can answer this. Remember, you can use this chat. You can speak, whatever you want. Okay, Mirko calls. All right, that's interesting. Does anyone else calls? Live folds. Come on, guys. Don't be shy. Okay, Mascot already answered. We have about 36% equity. That's perfect. Yeah, that's about how much equity we have. Mascot said we should fold here. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Let's give it a try. Nick's calls. Okay. All right. So yeah, it's a little bit mixed, right? Some people call, some people fold, and it's definitely it looks like a very close spot. Sevens are pretty bad. It's not a great pair to be getting in with in a 5-bet spot, right? Now, there are a couple of mistakes here. The first one is not understanding pot odds enough to understand that you can be sometimes committed And that's when we use the word committed. That's usually the right way to use it, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, I'm committed to this spot, but sometimes they're not really committed because they don't have any equity depending on the spot. But this is a spot that you always have some equity, okay? Mask already said we have about 36% equity. Of course, that depends on the range that is shoving. Against very strong ranges, we will have about that, about 36% equity. Against a little bit looser ranges, we will have better equity, right? Now, first, what we need to do is understand the pot odds, right? What is how much we need, how often we need to be winning in order to call, right? So let's do the mathematics behind the pot odds here. So here we go, pot calling size. We divide that and then divide 100 by it. So that's 35.9, which means basically that we would need about 35.9% of the time be winning this spot in order to call, right? Against this 4-bet. This 5-bet shove. Now, against 3% range, our equity is about break even. Against a 5% range, then it's a profitable call. Against an 8% range, it's easy call. And then if the player is a super aggressive player, then it's even better, right? So worst case scenario is usually break even, pretty close from breaking even. And if the player is bluffing some frequency of the time, if they're shoving a little bit looser, then it's a pretty easy call, right? We have a better equity. Now, the problem with this is exactly what I was saying. If you have sevens in this spot and your opponent 3-bets, you shouldn't be really 4-betting this spot very often. You can definitely 4-bet, but you should be shoving, right, instead of 4-betting. Because if you 4-bet and he shoves, then the spot is like, it's not a great call because it's always like super close, but it's a profitable call. But it's usually better to just have more fold equity in this spot than just getting in with sevens, right? Making him fold hands like ace queen, ace jack sometimes is better than making him get in with those hands, right? So this is a spot that he should not be 4-betting with sevens. And I mean, at least not 4-bet calling, right? He should be shoving or calling pre-flop, not really 4-bet calling. Now, if he does 4-bet, then he should be probably calling most of the time, unless it's a very, very tight player, right? But most of the time, he should be calling with sevens. So you can see that this is a break-even spot. Okay, so it's what once you talk about pot odds, now we're going to see a little bit of outs and how outs and pot odds can complement each other, okay? Now, what I think is interesting about that is how pot odds is such an important thing in the game. And a lot of the times we know a little bit about that, we read about it, but we don't really know how to use that in game, okay? Now let's go to outs and let's see how those things complement each other. Just 1 second here. Where is this? Okay, here it is. All right. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you guys know what outs are, but in case anyone doesn't know, outs are cards that will increase your hand's value or equity, okay? Are cards that will make you win the hand more often, right? And so here you go. So for example, here, if we have ace king against queens in this specific spot, we have 6 outs, right? Now, there are ways to turn this into equity. Instead of just having 6 outs, you can know like how often you hit the turn or the river, right? Instead of just knowing that you have 6 outs, just transform that in how often you will actually be winning the hand, how the frequency that you'll be winning a hand. So in order to do that, we have a very basic calculation that we can make, and this is important to understand because this is not perfect, okay? This is not, if you go on Equilab and try to see the exact number, it won't be that. It will be pretty close though. It will be close enough. Now, if you think about that, oh, one second. Okay, so if you think about it, we have two cards. The opponent has two cards, and the board has three cards, right? So 5, 6, 7. That's 7 cards. Someone is not muted. Okay, done. And so we have 7 cards in play, right? And we have a 52 cards board, right? So that takes us to, if you do the simple math about in it, every card will be about 2 point something percent of the deck. Right? Every other card will be about 2.3, 2.2% of the deck. In order to make that simpler, we just round it to 2. Like I said, it's not super accurate, but it's accurate enough so you can use it in game, and it will be most of the time right. Now, so if you think about how often you'll hit the turn, an ace or a king on the turn, you can basically just do 2 times the 6 outs that you have, and that will be 12% chance of hitting on the turn. And that will work for the river as well, right? So if you have 12% chance of hitting an ace or a king on the turn, let's say you miss, you hit a 4 of spades. Now you have another 12% chance of hitting the ace or king on the turn on the river, right? So what you can say from that is that you have approximately 24% equity. That's not exactly right, because you always have, first of all, you have the outs are a little bit more than 2%. Like the cards represent a little bit more than 2% each, and your opponent can still win after you hit an ace or a king, right? So it changes a little bit, but like I said, to have a general, a very quick answer for that, that's the way to go. Just multiply by 2 or by 4 if you want to play from the flop to the river, right? So you have approximately 24% equity to win the hand, and that's probably the best way to do this. Now we have one scenario here that where we can connect pot odds and outs. Okay, so that's a jack 6 deuce. We open ace king. We got called by Phoenix. We c betted, so we betted about like 40% of the pot or something, and Phoenix shoved. Actually, a third of the pot more. And Phoenix shoved. Now, yeah, Jerry said the rule of 4 and 2. Yeah, exactly. That's the easiest way to calculate to calculate outs, right? Now, this is where pot odds and outs connect. So let me ask you guys, in general, are you guys calling or folding this pot? After c-betting this situation, after c-betting a third, the guy shows a bit short stack. Are you guys calling most of the time or folding most of the time? Okay, live is calling. Anyone else calling? Mirko calls as well. Okay, Joey calls. Anyone else? They're kind of committed. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Mark said the pot odds are 28%. Let's see this. Let's see in a bit. But yeah, you can say that, right? We can. It really depends, right? It depends on our equity and how often we'll hit the river. Okay. Now let's do the math first for the pot odds, right? So here, this is the math, right? We add pot plus calling size divided by the calling size, and then 100 by that, and that's about 22% equity. Now that I see this, maybe I made this. I have no idea how I got this 6.56. Let me just make sure what happened here. So let's do this math. Let's do the other way around. 32,937 divided by Jesus, 140, actually 58. 347. Okay, yeah, that's actually better odds. But yeah, so I don't know why I have the 6.56, but anyways, it's 4.53, right? So the right way to do it would be 100 divided by 4.53. That's 2207. Yeah. So this 6.56 was just a misspell or something. I think I had an older class that had this number. So okay, so we need 22.07% equity, right? And as you guys know, we have about 24% equity. Like I said, it could be a little bit less, it could be a little bit more, but it's close to 24%. So we can say that it's most of the time, if the villain has like Jack X or 6X, Deuce X, etc., flush draws, our equity will be about that. Or like actually, if they have flush draws, it's even better, right? It's like we are actually flipping the spun. Now, so we do have a little bit more equity than what we need. So calling would be close to break even, but probably positive expected value. Now, this is very useful, right? Knowing that this call won't lose us money in the long run, or if it loses, it will lose very, very little. Now, the way to see that, we can go here and get the exact equity that we will actually have, which will probably be less than 24 in this spot. I know that just by trying a lot of times and just a lot of practice. Oh, wrong spot here, sorry. Jack spades, 6 diamonds, 6 diamonds. Ace king. Actually, it was king of diamonds, yeah. King of diamonds. And let's see, like queen jack off. Let's see, we probably have something 22.5, 22.9. Yeah, we have 22.46. So yeah, that's a pretty break-even spot actually. But the thing is, if you have a whole range with hands like flush draws, 6x, deuce x, then we'll probably have a better equity than that, right? We'll have like 25, 26, 28, depending on how we think that the range, our opponent range is. So that's how we know that we can actually call here just by knowing pot odds and knowing outs. Okay, so can you guys see the relationship between those two and how they're important in the game to actually make profitable assumptions? Let me see if we have any more slides here. Okay, yeah, so equity needed, positive equity. Okay, yeah, so that's actually what I wanted to show you guys today. We have a lot of classes and a lot of things that are way more in depth on theory. Let me see what Jory wrote here. Backdoor flush draws add a little more incentive to call. Yeah, for sure. In that specific case that we have the king of diamonds, that's even better, right? If you have a very close spot, you'll have about like 2 or 3% equity more when you have the backdoor flush draw, right? So that's definitely one more thing that adds on calling. Now, understanding pot odds and understanding outs and understanding how those things connect together is very important. It's a very basic thing. It's the first thing that you learn when you start playing poker. One of the first things that you learn. The other thing that is very important that I won't show you guys here, or else it would take a long time, probably a whole hour to talk about that, is minimal defense frequency and how we should be defending against ranges, how we should be bluffing, the bluffing equity, etc. There's so many topics that we can go through now, but that's the first class. That's just a basic thing. Well, I hope you guys liked it. I don't know what Bahedinha, the other owner of the team, talks to you guys about, but definitely I'm excited to, and I'm looking forward to have more classes with you guys. Okay. If you guys have any questions, you can ask right now. Are we good? Can we calculate our equity with a backdoor flush draw? Yeah, like I said, backdoor flush draw adds about 2 to 3% equity. So if you have a hand that doesn't have the same hand having and not having backdoor flush draw, they'll like have different equities. So for instance here, let me see. It's a good example of that. Let's see. Let's say clubs. Why is that not me? Oh, because okay, I made a mistake. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, wow. That's actually 4% more equity. See, the ace, spade, and king of hearts. That adds 4% equity. Equilab is free software. You can go on Google, just type Equilab. First link. I think it's from Poker Strategy or something. I think this is the website that they have. It is pokerstrategy.com Equilab. So yeah, you see, if you see like here you have 4% more equity because you have the backdoor, right? So that would make an even better call, a more profitable call. We wouldn't even be break even, right? We'll be making money by calling just because of the backdoor. But even if you didn't have the backdoor, it will be still a bit profitable to call, right? And that's against Queen Jack, which is a pretty bad scenario for us. We will have better scenarios, right? We will have scenarios where, like for instance, if the player has like ace deuce, or not ace deuce, but like queen deuce or something like that, that you can have 6 and jack as a run out, or if they have flush draws, even better if they have open-ended straight draws like 5-4, actually good shots, whatever. So you have better scenarios if you have all the range, like the entire range, and try your equity. It will be like more than that, right? It'll be something like 28, 29, 30, depending on the range that you have for your opponent. Now, knowing that ace and king give you those odds, just it's already enough to call, right? And that's what matters. So guys, I hope you, like I said, I hope you liked this class. If you're interested in having more of that, this is like I said, pot odds, but we're probably going to see combos and blockers next week. I definitely want you guys to talk to Bruno, so to see if you guys can start playing with us, if you have any interest. Tatão asks, can you send the pot odds and outs formula in the Skype group? Yes. I can send the formula or the class. It's fine. This is like basic material. It's not a problem to send. So, but I can definitely send the formula. No problem. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for being here. I hope to see you guys next week. If you have any questions, you can always ask on Skype. You can even start asking. I don't know how many of you guys play online, but you can always like send hands if you have any doubts. If you want to have a different opinion, send. Let's participate. Let's interact with each other. Okay. Very nice to be with you guys. Bye.